Welcome to Work Life by Design. I'm your host, Mel Marsden. As a passionate entrepreneur with a desire to create places where people and business thrive, I hope to inspire you to find your place at work and in life so you can live a life by design. You'll hear stories of transformation, exploring everything from organisational psychology to brand, and identifying opportunities in your workplace and your life to inspire your human potential. So, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Work Life by Design. Now, today I want to talk to you a little bit about a recent post that I put up on social media. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I was actually a little bit surprised by the reactions that I got to it. This post, and I'll tell you a little bit about it in just a second, but when I wrote it, I felt like I was lowering the curtain a little bit to what had been happening into my life over the last 18 months in business. However, when I look back at that post now, it was probably quite a lot more vulnerable than I thought it was going to be. And so in essence, this post was about my experience of life and business over the last 18 months and how much of a roller coaster ride it has absolutely been on the emotions that I have been through. And similarly to many other people, the experience that we've had navigating our way through COVID. So in March 2020, when we were all sent home and we went into lockdown for the first time, everything was going pretty well. So as a project-based business, my design agency community, we already had a pipeline of work. So we were pretty well set for the first few months. So when other people were navigating shutdowns and closures and lockdowns, we still had a nice train of work to keep us going. However, as the pandemic continued and uncertainty set in, and as a studio that focuses on workplace design and airline lounges, you can imagine the gaping hole that started to form as things travelled on. So by October 2020, things had really started to fall off a cliff. And, unsurprisingly, workplaces didn't know what they were going to be doing. Were we ever going to be going back to the office? What was the workplace of the future going to look like? No one was travelling, so therefore airline lounges were redundant. We didn't really need those at that time. So it was a business that was really going to be hit hard by the situation that was created as a result of lockdowns and the global pandemic. That's not indifferent to many other businesses. However, what was interesting about that was my reaction to that whole process and the way that I responded. And my response to that was all about working harder. My view of that was that I needed to continue to hustle, to work hard, to keep going, because my view was that if I stopped, if I slowed down, if I didn't keep pushing and doing and creating all of the things that I did, that in doing that, in slowing down, that I would actually be complicit in things getting worse. My view was that in order to right the ship, I needed to work harder, I needed to do more, I needed to get out there more. So I was gripping so tightly onto fixing this for the fear of what would happen if I didn't. I was terrified by the fact that if I didn't keep doing all the things that I was doing, that, I would be complicit in my business's failure. It was a pretty dark place for me. Things got pretty concerning. Our business was dwindling quite a lot because of that lack of certainty that was happening. But then what I'm very pleased to say is that it all changed. But it only changed because I changed. I changed my perspective and I had to just trust that it was all going to work out. Now, what I want to do with this episode today is I actually want to share with you the process that I went through to shift my mindset, to take myself from this fear of lack and scarcity and like the world was falling down around me, to trusting and to believing that it was all going to work out and to just knowing that it was going to be okay. And this wasn't a quick process, but I want to talk you through that because I think it's really important that we can understand and we can see how it is possible for us to shift our mindset and to change our experience of something that can still be quite concerning and quite devastating, but to shift our experience of that so that it doesn't affect us as much as what it possibly could. So I actually remember sitting in a cafe with a friend of mine on the Gold Coast in March of this year, so March 2021. And I was telling her how excited I was about what was laying ahead of me, about the opportunities that the business was going through, that I was exploring, when only weeks earlier I had been on the verge of tears, telling her how awful everything was, how dire it all was. And that conversation actually got me thinking, and it was about, well, what changed? What shifted? How had my perspective and my view of things got so much more positive, yet the situation that I was experiencing with the business hadn't actually shifted? We still didn't have a work pipeline because there was still so much uncertainty in the industry. But here I am sitting in this cafe with her, telling her quite vibrantly and very positively how excited I was about what was going to be happening. I went back and I had to really think about this. And what I discovered was that I had really shifted my mindset. I had started focusing on the things that I can control, what was within my circle of influence that I could affect change on. I had to really start to focus my attention in that space. I had to start focusing on the positive things, what was going really well, what was good. I had to really start to bring my attention back to those things. And I started reframing my experiences to really focus on the learning and the growth that I'd got as a result of things not being so great. I was really having to focus on my strength and my resilience that was getting me through. And there was a quote that I found during this time that really resonated with me. And it says that only shine your light on the things you want to grow. And what I realized I'd been doing was I had been shining my light on all of the bad things, all of the things that were giving me grief, that were causing me stress, that was creating concern. And I was just giving more and more energy to focusing on those things as opposed to looking at the things that I did want. And what I realized that by me focusing on the things that I didn't want, I was bringing myself and my attention back to those things more and more. And so I needed to shift my attention to focus on the things that I did want. And I had to really start to shine my precious light on all of the good stuff and not on the crappy stuff. I needed to focus on the things I wanted more of. And so I really had to train myself only to look for the things that made me feel good, the things that brought me joy, and the things that I wanted in my life. Now, it's really easy for me to sit here now and say this, but I did a lot of work to get here. This didn't happen overnight. This was very much a long journey, but I want to share with you what was at the heart of it. And when I think back onto it now and I think about what happened, it was all about putting myself back into a positive frame of mind. And only I could do that. I was the only one who could shift my mindset back into a positive place. I had to move myself out of that fear and lack and scarcity and really start focusing on the joy and the happiness and the wonderful things that I already had in my life. Now, this might all sound really counterintuitive because when shit's hitting the fan and you feel like the world's falling down around you, the last thing you want to do is just sit back and relax and enjoy the ride. But in some ways, that's actually what we needed to do. That's exactly what I needed to do. I needed to just take my hands off the steering wheel, stop gripping onto everything so damn tightly, and just let it go because it was out of my control. I could not shift it. I could not change it. And no amount of hard work and me busting myself was going to fix that. I had to just let go. During this time, though, I shifted a lot of things to make that happen. I focused very intently on my health. So I signed up for Kayla Itsney's sweat app and I was doing that 3 times a week. I was doing Pilates twice a week and I was also resetting my gut health. I went and I bought the Beauty Chef cookbook and I did their 4-step program to resetting your gut health. I really focused on calming down my nervous system. So I was meditating once a day. I was just doing 10 minutes using the Calm app. So it was really simple and really easy. I didn't have to think about it. I just had to do 10 minutes. I started journaling so that I was getting all of that ruminating thought that was sitting in my head out on paper. And it's amazing when you put things down on paper, sometimes just how ridiculous they sound. And it was about getting all of that out of my head. But most importantly, I had to start focusing on my future. What did I want? What did I want my life to look like? And how was I going to go about it? when I say I wanted to focus on what my life looked like and what my future looked like, I got granular about this. I started to design what my perfect day looked like. What was my perfect week? What did my year look like? What was the kind of work that I wanted to be doing? How did I want to be spending time with my family? Who did I want to be spending time with? How did I want to be spending time with my clients? What kind of work did I want to be doing with them? What kind of revenue streams could I be doing in my business? And what kind of business models could I create? So I had to really get clear on all of this vision. And when I mapped it all out and I had created this really clear vision of what I wanted things to look like, I could then start to see a way forward. And I was also then starting to support my mental state with what I was consuming. So what we put into our brains is really important in terms of how we then perceive everything around us. And so I'm an avid learner. I love to take in as much information as I possibly can. So I was listening to podcasts, but there was also 2 books that had a significant impact on me and my mindset through this process. And the first one was Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I found this to be a very powerful book about taking the time to get really quiet and to connect with yourself and really listen to what Glennon describes as your inner knowing. Now, I've mentioned this a few times on the podcast, but in this book, she describes the inner knowing, the voice that's inside, and she actually locks herself in a cupboard to be able to connect in with that inner knowing, to block out all that external noise. And the point of this is that all of the answers that you need are within you. You just have to find the space and the quiet to be able to listen, to be able to hear that, and to cut out all of that external noise, because so often we put our faith and our trust in the noise and the opinions and the voices of others around us, rather than really connecting back in to who we are and what it is that we want. And when Glennon describes this, that is where that inner knowing is. That is the trust that comes from inside you. So if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. It's a great way of just tuning back into a different perspective on how much inner knowing you have and trusting yourself and your own internal instincts. Never before have we collectively experienced such change on a global scale. The pandemic, whilst on one hand has challenged us in ways that previously we could have only imagined, on the other, it has opened the doors to incredible opportunity. The opportunity to redesign our work lives in a way that works for us. An opportunity to disrupt, reset, and recreate our new normal. And to help you on this journey, I am so excited to bring to you the Work-Life Lounge. This is your VIP pass to accessing some of the greatest thought leaders in our world of work. So often we are told what we need to do and why we need to do it, but we are often left wondering, but how? How do I make the changes that I need to? And that's where the Work-Life Lounge is here to support you, to guide you step by step through the how, to take back control and design your work life on your own terms. And for the next 3 months, you can have an Access All Areas VIP pass to the lounge. Thank you to the sponsorship of Community. Committed to their purpose of fostering the creation of communities where people feel connected, Community is on a mission to ensure that we all emerge stronger together, that we consciously create our work lives on purpose as we head into 2022. Now, there are only 100 seats available under this incredible sponsorship, so to claim your seat in the lounge, head over to melissamarsden.com.au/work-life lounge for more details. I can't wait to see you in the lounge. Now, let's get back to the episode. And the second book that really had a big impact to me was Gabby Bernstein's Super Attractor. Now, this one's a little bit more woo-woo and the universe has got your back. And whilst I'm not a big one for affirmations, I really got how this works by reading this book. And what I got was how when we focus our attention on what it is that we desire, we are allowing ourselves to feel that way, to be in the energy of what we want and how that makes us feel good, how it makes us feel happy, how we start to feel joy. And so allowing ourselves to sit in that space, we can start to feel what it's like to experience that. And that, I think, is the power of affirmations. Affirmations are about resetting our mindset and our direction onto the things that we do want and what it feels like to be in that energy right now, even though we don't already have it. Now, what I've realized through reading this too was that that could either be something that we're imagining in the future, this is how I want to feel, or we could be recalling a past memory and a past feeling that we want more of. So something we've already experienced that we enjoyed and we want more of that. So reading this book, something really clicked for me. And what it was that the more I focused on trying to succeed, to achieve and to win, the more I was actually focusing on the outcome. And the outcome is out of my control. Instead, what I needed to focus on was actually enjoying the process, the journey, and allowing the outcome to just be that, to be the outcome. And so what I realized was that I had just been pushing so hard to achieve this set and desired outcome that I had imagined that I needed to achieve, that I'd actually lost the joy of the process. I had forgotten how to enjoy going through the motions of actually doing the work. And so I really needed to reframe how I was going about the process and really then start to surrender my attachment to that outcome and trust that it would all just work out. Now, this isn't just about throwing caution to the wind and crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's about getting really crystal clear, laser focused on what it is that you do want, and then taking aligned action towards that vision. Now, this is the bit that I hadn't gotten before. You need to know what it is that you want with absolute clarity so that you know the steps that you need to take. You know the actions that you need to do to move you in the right direction. Because when you don't have clarity, you're spinning your wheels, you're going around in circles, and you just don't have the direction that you need to get you from point A to point B. And so when I talk about aligned action, that is the active steps that are going to move you in the direction of your vision, your goals, your dreams. But it's in a way that feels effortless. It needs to feel easy. It needs to feel enjoyable. Because if we are pushing and not enjoying the process, we're not enjoying the journey. And that's when we're getting so hung up again on the outcome. The whole thing is just not enjoyable. So you need to focus on the steps, focus on the joy that the whole process brings you, and let go of the outcome. Now, the other thing that I need to be pointing out here is that I didn't do this on my own. I had a team of people supporting me. I had my husband, I had my friends, I had my business networks, and I had not one, not two, but 3 business coaches. They were all focused on different aspects of my business and my mindset and supporting me to move forward and through this to this better place. I needed all of that to make this journey to where I am today. Now, as I'm recording this, it's 8 months on from the moment that I was sitting in that cafe with my friend, and I can tell you that I haven't been this excited about my business since I started it 8.5 years ago. We are working with some amazing clients at Community. We are doing workplace design that lights us up. We are working with clients who are aligned around our values and our philosophy of workplaces as the futures look like. I'm working with a passionate and dedicated team, and we're more profitable than we have been in quite a while. But all of this had to happen through moving through this and resetting my mindset, reframing my experiences that I had been through and putting a much more positive spin on them to focus my attention in the places that I can control. I had to learn how to reconnect to the process again and enjoy it. Now, I've also got all this space and time for me to be able to focus on the other things that light me up. And that's creating and delivering programs and memberships to support others to be able to create and design and envision a work life that they love. And that stuff is what really fills my cup. So I now have this beautiful balance of all of the aspects that I enjoy to create my life, to create the life that I want. So, my invitation to you today is, where can you begin to reframe how you viewed some of your darkest days so that they have become some of the most enlightening moments of your life and have set you up on this new path to designing a life of your dreams? Thank you for joining me again today. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope that this episode has given you a bit of a new perspective. As I said at the beginning, it was a bit more of a vulnerable episode for me, sharing with you this journey. And it's taken me a while to be able to sit here and actually have this conversation and to share this, because it's been emotional. It's been challenging, but I am so incredibly grateful to have come out the other side and to be in such a better place as a result of it, with such a better outlook on my life and where it's going. So I hope that it's inspired you a little bit today. And I really do encourage you to go and look at your life and think back on some of those things that you thought were really negative, really shitty moments, and how you could reframe them and what you've learned from them and how you've grown as a result of them. So thanks again for joining me today. And I look forward to chatting with you again next week. Thank you for joining me for Work Life by Design. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to rate, review, or subscribe, or all three, in iTunes, and share it with your friends so we can continue to build this community. I would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, you can connect with me on Instagram @Melmar, or send me an email at melissa@melissamarsden.com.au. I hope this episode has given you a few sparks of inspiration so you can design a work life you love.